Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Giampiero Masolo. I would like to thank you, Mary Monti, for inviting me, and I would like to thank for supporting our students, for the program and the support, extending assistance to displaced students and our people. This is our future. We by no means want to lose it, and we do want them by getting your warmth and education experience to come back to our land. And thank you very much for preserving our future, our students. Now I would like to make an address to the participants of the forum. Dear friends, I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak to you today. Everything needs to be done today. It just happens so that today is the International Refugee Day. And since not so long ago, this day is a painful holiday for millions of Ukrainians, to be more precise, more than 12 million citizens. Can you imagine that? These are the people who, in the beginning of this year, had their house full, security, their plans for future, and all of that was destroyed by Russian invasion. More than 12 million Ukrainians became refugees. They left their communities, they left their homes to search for safe space, a safe haven at other territory, at least where Russian artillery will not reach them. More than 5 million out of these 12 have left the country, and they found refuge in abroad, in particular in Italy. I would like to thank again your people, your cities, your government and Prime Minister Draghi for the assistance to our people, first of all, women and children. That is extremely important. But what is our objective today? We have to make sure that refugees and displaced come back home, no matter where they look for the refuge and shelter. We have to keep them interested and capable of coming back to Ukraine. We can create a historic precedent. In the earlier days, when the aggressor was fighting against other countries, he was thinking that the Ukraine's back will be broken. But we have proven that it is not possible to break Ukraine. This is why it's a key moment for Ukrainians to come back, possibility to come, because Europe is going through one of the largest migration crises because of war in Ukraine. During several months only, 12 million people have left their homes. What was the last time this happened in the past? The only thing I can remember is the Second World War, and that was a deliberate act. 500,000 in Mariupol, 100,000 in Severodonetsk, 22,000 in Volnovakha. This is the population of those cities, but Russia destroyed everything there with artillery, with aviation and missiles. They didn't really were discreet in doing this. So, and I can name thousands, hundreds of places that were destroyed and dozens that are still under threat. Now Russia is trying to pull back their forces, to organize their forces to occupy Kharkiv. We have deoccupied already, and they want to come back again, and that's 1.5 million citizen city. They keep bombarding the city of Mykolaiv, and there's almost 500,000 citizen city. They want to occupy Slavyansk, and it was 100,000 city before the war. Of course, we will do our best to stop the occupiers and to protect the people, but to do it faster We need your support. We need modern weaponry, weaponry that would have better capability than the Russian weapons. And this is why I'm using so many emotions and times and efforts to convince all of our partners to transfer to us powerful pieces of weaponry. This is the matter of life and death. And the second question is economy. While Russian missiles are hitting our cities, it is not possible to have a normal economic life. Almost half of our economy, our economic system is not operational now. Just imagine what would it mean if half of the Italian economy would be blocked, in particular your industrial elements. None of your countries would be able to stand against this without the support. When we are saying that we need about $5 billion a month to fill the deficit gap, it's not about money, it's about the number of Ukrainians who would be able to continue living during these times in Ukraine. And the third item is rebuilding. We have to do everything possible so that after the victory, which will come undoubtedly, we could restore normal livelihoods in the areas where Russian occupiers were trying to leave only ruins behind. And this life should be so up-to-date and so safe that it would also hit the aggressor back. Not just sanctions, not just physical losses of Russian army in the battlefield, but the fact that life will be restored in Ukraine. Livelihood would be a priority. The fact that we can come back from ashes and the aggressor will be left with losses and degradation. Our goal is for this migration crisis in Europe, caused by the Russian war, of course, and only by Russian war, would become the last crisis of its sort, so that no any other aggressor in future could think that by using war instruments he could destroy the life of any European countries. So the weaponry, the financial support, and the rebuilding of Ukraine are three elements that have to trigger the change. But this is not all we need to do. Russian war against us have triggered also a global food crisis, and unless we stop this, 12 million displaced people will be just a drop in the sea when new migration processes will start. I just addressed the representatives of the African Union before this, and I was emphasizing the food security. Ukraine can supply enough food products to satisfy the critical demands for countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America. Without our experts, there is a global deficit, and that could lead to political, economical, migration chaos. And it is only this year that we have to do everything to make sure that the next year we won't need to discuss on this day of refugees the fate of many more millions of refugees in the countries that in Europe and that border with Europe. Today, the decisions of European politicians determine the future of many countries, whether we will have peace in Ukraine or not, and whether we will be addressing these challenges that we have talked today about. And I do want you to be very active. I'm very grateful to Italy for your principal position, but we do even more for Ukraine to win. I would like to repeat, weapon, financial support, and rebuilding of Ukraine are three elements that can make a difference globally. Thank you for your attention. Slava Ukraini. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, when we hear and see you speak, we see a man infusing strength to his country and asking the world to help protect that country, but we also feel the man who tries to defend the values which we feel are exactly the same values that we have in the European Union. And it is so encouraging for all of us to see how strongly you wish to be a member of the European Union, and it must be encouraging for you to see with what enthusiasm most citizens and countries of the European Union would like you to join immediately. You also know that that is not physically and technically possible, but I'm sure that the strength of the enthusiasm towards welcoming Ukraine as soon as possible will have concrete consequences. You have been, Mr. President, generous enough to allow 2 questions to be asked of you. And the first question will come from a student of Bocconi, Denisa Muhammeti. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Denisa Muhammeti, and I am a G20 Global Ambassador. My question to you is, the EU accession process usually takes years. What are your expectations from the EU, and what further steps is Ukraine going to take? Thank you.
Do you wish to respond each of the questions directly, immediately, or should we get the second question first? As you wish. Okay, I understand your voiceless expression as saying, let's get also the second question. Okay, which is from Stefania Battistini, a journalist from TG1, the widest channel of national news in our country. Mrs. Battistini, the floor is yours.
Do you hear me? President Zelensky, what kind of role should
Were you able to understand? No.
No, we didn't hear the question.
Mrs. Battistini, would you mind coming up here?
President Zelensky, we arrived in Ukraine 10 days before the invasion. Now I would like to ask you which kind of role should and could Italy and the European Union play in peace negotiations? Thank you.
Would you like to have more questions, Mr. President? Do you have time for more questions? No. Okay.
I'm prepared to answer.
So, please, go ahead.
I'm prepared for any number of questions. If my answers can bring closer the peace and the end of war in Ukraine, I wouldn't mind many questions. But I'm grateful for these questions that you have asked. First of all, as regards the European Union, in our country, every Ukrainian, every citizen, and for every person, the main thing is motivation. What is motivating Ukrainians now? The end of war. What we want is to be on our land. We don't need anything of someone else's. We want only something that belongs to us. That's what we are protecting. We are very motivated people, and one of the motivations, apart from our homeland and our homes, are these values that Mr. Mondi, you just mentioned. We are protecting our common goals with Europeans. This is the second motivation. The third one is we want to show to everything that Ukraine is not afraid of the second largest army in the world. We are showing the example of the independent country and the fight of the independent people. So you can see the first and the third one, how we do it on the daily basis in resisting Russian army. In terms of European orientation and protection of European goals, for us, this is a unifying factor, the fact that we are moving towards the European Union. And maybe this week we will receive the candidate status, and this will only strengthen our power, our capacity. What European Union should do for us? Nothing. European Union has to simply consider Ukraine as an equal partner, and whatever that you're doing for the members of the European Union, you should be doing for us. And since we're on the forefront of protection of our common values, I think we require a little bit more than other countries, because it is harder for us these days. But nevertheless, I would like to thank the countries of the European Union who are fighting the sanction war against Russia, who are fighting a political war against Russia, and who are fighting by supporting our army with weapons. And what you said, that tomorrow this question will be considered in the Senate, that's an extremely important question of support to the Ukrainian army. And I would like to say that you are supporting not the advance of the Ukrainian forces, you are supporting the defense capability of our army. At all areas where we're advancing, these are Ukrainian lands. We're not crossing the border. We are not killing civilians and citizens of Russian Federation, no matter what their position on this war is. We are an adequate nation who want to be independent. So please support us in this. In terms of the second question, what role an Italy can play in terms of the security, what I personally can see is among the security guarantor countries in the nearest future, this is something that we will need to have in the circle of these friends and guarantors. We see Italy. We think Italy should be there. We respect Italian history, culture, and principles. We support Italian government. We welcome their assistance, and we are very grateful for this. And I think that the journalist who asked the question mentioned that she was in Ukraine 10 days before the war, and she asked what else can be done. Sometimes it is very important to say the truth. And in order to speak the truth about what's going on in Ukraine, sometimes it is worthwhile to find time and be present on the ground. So this is why I would like to invite you. You have to tell people what's going on, because the war is far from any single country, and to know what is going on during the war and what Ukraine is fighting for, sometimes you have to visit the place. So if you want to help us with your weapon, because journalists fight with words, you can come and see for yourself and tell the story to your beautiful people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. You gave us a very modest but very deep lesson of what the human person can be, what a well-meant love for one country can bring to And from the deep of our heart, we wish all the best to you, to your country, and to our common Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good luck.